Welcome to Deeply Disturbing Things.
The podcast.
I'm Macy.
And I'm Naomi.
And we also have Sarah.
Sarah, our hype girl's in the house, hyping it up.
Chilling out with Obi, the cat.
And Obi's here too. We got a crowded room today.
Right.
Do you want to say the rest of our intro?
There's too much in between now. And we're three anxious counselors who like to talk about deeply disturbing things.
We believe normal is boring, knowledge is power, and laughter is the best medicine. L'chaim.
I can't, I don't get it.
L'chaim.
I can't get it.
Huh.
Huh.
Huh. Yeah, l'chaim. That's it.
I'm gonna spit.
I just
Yeah.
gotta get it. It's a totally
like-
different letter.
I feel like if it was more
Huh is
strong,
a different
could
letter
get it.
than huh.
Huh.
It's hey
Huh.
versus chet.
Huh.
Chet.
Great.
I think I get to go first today.
You do get to go first today, and I get to go second. I'm happy about that.
Don't look.
I can't look. The mic's in my way.
This is a
Can't
very therapist-y topic.
Ooh,
So it's good that we have 3 therapists in the room
wonderful.
and a cat.
Always need a cat.
I-
That's gonna tie into my topic.
I am going to talk about professional cuddling.
Oh my gosh, I've seen little snippets of things, and I have so many.
What were your
thoughts.
initial reactions?
Ew.
You, okay.
And then maybe I'd like it. I don't know.
Ew, and then maybe
followed
you'd like
maybe
it.
I'd like it, and then you probably like. It's definitely
So it was a maybe I'd like it in an ew sandwich.
right. If I got to pick my cuddles, then okay.
Well, you do. You get to pick your cuddler.
Do you? Well,
Yeah.
no. But I kind of viewed it from the other side of being the professional cuddler.
Oh, yeah.
If I get to pick, then I'm totally fine.
Well, I don't know if I think there's a screening process, and then if somebody is just not meeting the standards, then you don't have to give them a cuddle anymore.
Get out of my cuddle box.
So we are wired for connection with others. We don't just need social connection, we actually need physical connection with other people. And our world has become really hyper connected in some ways, like with our phones, we're always connected to people, social media, but we've become deeply disconnected in other ways. I worked from home today. I talked to a lot of people on video, but was not in the same room with any of them at
Same.
any point.
Same.
And it wasn't until, you two came over, then I realized
Maybe
that
that's why we like this, because realness.
that it's like it feels good to just have somebody there,
And we've
like, in your
done-
presence.
We've
It's a
done
different
Zoom
experience.
ones. Yeah, like we've done Zoom ones, and it is like it's still fun, but it's like there's just a piece.
There's something missing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Western cultures are touch deprived for other reasons as well, besides, the new age of just being connected electronically. Even when we're in physical proximity to others, in the West, we don't really engage in a lot of touch. And I'm talking about healthy touch.
Mhm.
I'm not talking about creepy touch.
Yeah.
No creep.
Not talking about ass grabs.
I mean, time and place.
Time and place. Non-human primates spend about 10 to 20% of their day grooming each other every day.
I saw monkeys do that at the zoo, and I was like, "That's so cute."
It
I
is
wish I had
cute.
someone to pick ticks off of.
I wish someone would pick those gnats out from my lip gloss. If you go to various other countries, people spend a lot more time in direct physical contact with one another. So a lot more than we do in our country.
Hmm.
In a study from the 1960s, Sidney Girard studied the conversations of friends in different parts of the world as they sat in a cafe together. And so he observed conversations for the same duration of time in each of the
With
different
consent?
countries. I don't know. I didn't read the human subjects review board
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
What did he find? In England, the two friends touched each other 0 times.
This doesn't feel like there's consent.
In the US, during bursts of enthusiasm, we touched each other twice during the conversation.
I don't think I burst.
It might be a burst like, Yes.
Okay,
See what that's the
I
problem
hated it.
with West. But in France,
It was the extra touch that really made it worse.
in France, they touched each other 110 times in an hour.
Wow.
And in Puerto Rico, they touched each other 180 times during the hour. And in France, they kiss you, kiss.
All the time.
Back and forth. You do lots of them. Of course, there are plenty of good reasons why people are inclined to keep their hands to themselves. We live in a highly litigious society. We don't want to get sued. We don't want people to think, misjudge our intentions, misunderstand them, and think we're creepy. But research really is showing that as humans, we're suffering because we're holding back too much. We need touch. The benefits of healthy touch are really amazing.
Can I disclose?
Yeah. What?
So at the end of podcast last week,
Did you hug?
Sarah, well, we had like a good, we were talking about how great the podcast was, and she's about ready to leave, and she goes, so are you like a hugger? And she comes in and she's like, because if you're not, I won't. And I'm like, not really. And I shut her down hard.
No, I
I
got
know.
shut down.
Well, you missed out. That was an
I know.
opportunity for you to get some cuddle chemicals.
I'm an affectionate person, so
I know,
I
I'm-
like to hug, but I respect people's feelings if they don't like that. So I would much rather ask for that
Well,
permission
It's
than,
not even so much that I
force the love.
don't like it. It triggers anxiety in the moment. And then I feel good.
But maybe
But we did.
you need to work
What
through
did we
that.
do? Oh, that's right. We awkwardly touched. Here, come here. Lean in. We did this.
Oh, you did an ET?
I allowed her to touch my
You don't
finger.
even like ET.
Which
I
actually made my night.
I
It was,
didn't
like,
equate
so
it to ET, by the way, until
Well,
you said that.
I'm a
Remember?
hardcore ET lover,
I
so
have like horrible repeating nightmares.
I'll
so.
be right here. And then the glowy finger.
You're lucky you don't sound anything like ET. So
ET is amazing. Oh my God. My cat is
I
barfing
can't hear.
on the floor right now. They probably can't hear it.
It's over. It's over.
It's
Cook's
over.
here.
This is why I don't have carpet anywhere in this house.
is it just laying there though?
Yeah, well, I'm in the middle of the podcast. It's fine. I'll clean it up later. It's just because he goes outside and eats grass, and then he comes in and picks it up.
There's like a lot going on now.
Welcome to Deeply Disturbing Things.
Really got me activated. I don't know.
Unscripted,
Scared
unedited,
me.
independent
touching
little
you.
oddcast. Back to the benefits of healthy touch. Preterm newborns who received just 3 15-minute sessions of touch therapy each day for 5 to 10 days gained 47% more weight than
Mhm.
premature infants who just received standard medical treatment without the touch therapy.
We talked about that orphanage study a long time ago with the little children who were
Yeah, so
horribly
this
treated.
shows why historically babies in orphanages where caretakers deprive them of touch, they fail to grow to their expected height or weight, and they have behavioral problems, often attachment difficulties from that trauma. Michelangelo said, "To touch can be to give life." Touch activates the brain's regions linked to feelings of reward and compassion, which we need in our field. We need to be compassionate as helpers.
Mhm.
There are studies showing that touch signals safety and trust. It soothes. Basic warm touch calms cardiovascular stress. So it regulates our nervous system. It activates our vagus nerve, which is completely involved in our ability to be compassionate, our ability to learn, our ability to be engaged and connected with others. And simple touch can trigger the release of oxytocin, aka the love hormone.
Love
So
drug.
we need touch, but we're getting less of it than ever. I mean, the pandemic did not help
No.
because
Those poor teenagers.
6 feet,
No,
people are still doing the 6 feet
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm. Oh, that's me.
not wanting to touch. But we need it. We need to bring back healthy, appropriate touch.
I didn't have very much of that. I mean, but you added the word appropriate and then it's not bad.
My professional liability insurance provider gives this advice about hugs.
Who's that? Hipso?
No, I go with CPH and Associates.
Oh, okay.
Says there's a big difference between a question that asks whether a particular act is legal and a question that asks whether there is a reasonable likelihood that one can get in trouble, even though the act may have been lawful.
Right.
So our code of ethics does not speak to touch, speaks to we can't, have sexual relationships with
Right.
people, but it doesn't say anything about touch. So it's not illegal.
It's not clearly defined in our code of ethics.
It's not illegal, but
However,
we still could get in trouble for it. And that's why a lot of therapists just avoid it at all costs.
right.
But are we harming our clients by doing that, or not harming them, but not providing more effective treatment?
And I would say like there is such thing as like too much making it about you and your needs for touch, but even just simple things like if somebody is sitting and like really going through some hard trauma stuff, like there are therapists who like will touch the shoulder in that moment and hold that moment to have the connection. And so I think sometimes when we talk about touch and counseling, people go like to the extreme of like, we're not hugging people.
Yeah, people are
like,
avoiding it at all costs. So if a therapist wants to avoid the risk altogether, that would be your approach. You would don't hug, don't touch, just do talk therapy.
Have a sticker.
If a patient were to ever initiate or attempt a hug, we would be prepared with, I worked in schools for a long time. If kids would come in, I wouldn't deny because that would be damaging, but you'd just automatically go to the side hug.
Mm-hmm.
So we would have clinically appropriate and respectful declination or statement of preference on board for those moments.
Right. Because you can imagine a teen coming up to you, like we all worked in schools at any age, really. If you were to just turn down a kid in that moment, like the shutdown, the rapport is gone. You're in a different world to them.
Right.
That's
It's damaging.
The
trust. I know that's what I'm feeling now.
You have to weigh, the pros and the cons and the benefits and the rest.
Are we gonna hug at the end of this?
We're gonna all hug. We're gonna do a 3-way hug. I said hug.
Appropriate touch.
Yes.
Hugs.
Sometimes clients might
It's
take
making me really
innocent
sweat.
acts though and turn them into false allegations. So that's why where doing something lawful and proper may still give an element of risk.
Mhm.
As to the issue, so this is still the guidance from my liability provider. As to the issue of hugging on special occasions, that presents a different dynamic. The risk is certainly less than it would be if you had a regular hugging regimen. So like if it was a routine part of your therapy, like people
Right.
come in, you hug them, or people leave, you hug them.
So there's no like discriminatory, like it's just this one person that I hug because I like them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're doing it everybody, then that's more risk
Oh,
than if you just hug on special occasions. Like say,
I see what you're
like
saying.
someone's maybe graduating from treatment, like, oh,
I see.
here's a hug,
Got
goodbye.
it. But I would say if you can't do for one, don't do for all. So when your people graduate, then you should give them a hug if that's something that they like.
Well, though you have to consider people's
That's
stories, which I'll
that's
get
fair.
into here in a second.
Yeah.
Therapists, so this is still guidance. Therapists and counselors who incorporate some form of touch or physical contact within their practices should first obtain some form of informed consent. So my liability provider recommends if hugging routinely occurs or other forms of touch are incorporated into the therapy, provide the patient with a written and signed informed consent where the nature and purpose of the touch is disclosed.
Ooh, I like that idea. And I haven't seen that in many informed consents.
Yeah. The client should be given an opportunity to consent or object to the touch.
Right.
And they should be assured that if the consent is not given, For example, hugging before or after sessions, the therapist will fully respect that decision and no negatives will flow from the refusal to consent. If the touching is in any way related to treating the client or is in any way intended to help the client, then the informed consent document should disclose the clinical rationale and support for such an approach, and the potential risk and benefits should be fully and accurately disclosed. So I thought that was pretty useful. I had to really search to find that.
I was about to say, I would want,
information.
like, I'm sure it exists out there somewhere, the exact kind of wording.
Like a
around that.
template. Yeah. I
All
mean-
about a template.
How would you approach that though? How would you bring that up?
Well, it's part of
at the
your
start,
informed consent
just at the very
document.
beginning,
Yeah.
like, by the way, one of the things that we may do is a therapeutic form of touch. It's your right to object that, and you can do that now or even in the moment, or you can be okay with it and then change your mind. That's all fine.
Right. And then you would say what the benefits are of a hug or whatever it is, if it's some other form of touch.
Yeah.
A pat on the hand.
Share a little research and just say, you know, some are comfortable, some are not. And
And I was thinking a lot because I teach yoga also, and
yeah, it's very
some yoga places have like a little thing, like a card you can get at the door that you can have to one side or the other, indicating you're okay with touching or don't freaking touch me.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
So you don't have to.
That's such us working at schools. I want a card with a green and a red on them.
Yeah. So I thought like that might be an easy way to just incorporate it, because somebody might
touch
consent to touch like in the beginning, but maybe they're having a day where it's like, don't fucking touch me. So maybe you just have a card on the table and they could just flip it.
And then
And you know, like green,
Do you
I'm
need a hug?
good. Red
Yeah.
is like,
Like those meat restaurants.
stay away.
I just don't want it to turn into professional cuddling. Of like, I know that you need it, but maybe I don't feel comfortable in this moment providing that to you in this moment.
Good point.
I don't know.
Right. I mean, that's raises another question.
Mhm.
What if the client wants it, an appropriate hug, and the therapist is just
Is-
not comfortable with it?
Then you get
Like
Sure,
maybe
fine,
we're
yeah.
talking about sensitive subjects that because our whole thing, like with transference and countertransference, we have to be very aware of that throughout the counseling sessions. So if something is triggering for you, it may not be therapeutically beneficial in that moment to hug. And how do you communicate that? Yeah, it's tricky.
So,
This is really good wine, by the way.
I know it's hot to trot.
I know, it's so tasty. Okay.
Living in a Western society, we are touch deprived. Talked about that.
Case example.
We're conducting work and social lives without being in real life with one another. And that doesn't give us an opportunity for healthy touch. Working in a litigious field like therapy, but there's other ones like teachers, like
Mhm.
that's another place you have to be careful.
Right. Right.
We're avoiding touch at all costs, but everybody's suffering as a result of this. I think it's too extreme, and we maybe need to come back to middle a little bit.
Well, I mean, and if you think about it, like massage therapists will ask you, like, are you okay with me massaging your glutes? You know, they ask before
Hopefully they ask.
those types of questions. So if all it takes is that, a little verbal consent, then I could see healthy therapeutic touch being not that big of a deal legally, as long as you get consent. Unless you cause a lot of emotional damage that could be proven in court. Just saying.
Enter professional cuddlers. I looked up a website. It's a pretty big cuddling company called Cuddlist.com.
Cuddlist.
Cuddlist.
Mm.
They are a for-profit professional cuddling company.
I've not heard this.
There are other companies though, but this one looks like pretty major. Cuddlist.com also provides training if you want to become a professional cuddler. There's a 2-day training coming up in May, costs $1,200.
Oh.
You can become a professional cuddler. This profession is trying to desexualize connection via human touch. So
I can
this
see
is
that.
platonic cuddling, platonic touch.
I like that idea a lot. I do think being a counselor has made my view of that a little I mean, again, the number one like complaint and license pulling in our field is for sexual misconduct.
Right. So we're
So-
fearful. Like
so
nobody
that's
wants
scary.
that.
Right. So, I mean, it makes it where like it does feel very taboo because like nobody wants their license pulled.
Right. Right.
And you never know what someone subjectively, even if they consent to it at first, subjectively is going to view in that moment.
Exactly.
I would love a professional color where there's just no strings attached. Just hold me for a bit.
There's even
Get
cuddle or
out.
snuggle parties.
I can't do that's like an orgy. I can't. Cuddle orgy.
There's a cuddlist code of conduct on their website. Client and practitioner both verify that they are at least the legal age of consent. Client and practitioner both agree to be free from any mind-altering substances during the session, so they're fully able to give consent. I loved
Yeah,
that.
it sounds like counseling. Yeah.
Client agrees to fully disclose any diagnoses or conditions that may affect their cuddling session to the practitioner. So this is where if you have some kind of trauma history or some kind of medical, situation, you're going to disclose that.
One of that massage therapist said that they were giving a massage to someone and they normally do like this area around the neck, and the client started crying and they stopped, like, are you okay? And they said that they all of a sudden like came out with the story of how they were choked by an ex, and so like it brought up this huge trauma response. Just to
Massages
touch.
can do that.
Yeah.
Yoga can do that too.
Mhm.
Mind body are one. Client and practitioner both agree to practice consent and attention to personal boundaries at all times. So there's a discussion that happens prior where you discuss like, maybe I don't want this part of my body touched, or I want this, or I don't want that. I want to be big spoon, or,
There has
whatever
to be
it
a
is.
discussion, probably similar to massage therapy, of like if somebody gets a boner.
Yes.
Because at least as a female, typically, it's easier to hide.
Yes. And on the website, that was in one of their FAQs, because that's like the biggest thing. So
kind of embarrassing.
if somebody gets sexually aroused, you're supposed to not give any attention to it and not do anything to encourage it.
right.
But you don't want to like call it out or make them embarrassed either. You just kind of want to.
Well, and it could be on either side.
And it could be just a natural
there could be
physical
boners all
response.
around.
But I'm having a hard time really making a clear line between orgy and cuddle orgy, but I'm
Well,
working
it's
on it.
it's not encouraged. It's not focused on, because
It's not
there's just human biology. We have
right.
responses to things that
It's like the moment
not in
before
control of.
foreplay. It's like that key moment that gets rushed in a relationship. Cuddle me for a while first, but prolong that moment.
Well, I've
No.
disclosed on the podcast that I don't like getting massages because
Mm-hmm.
from my history, it's too intimate for me. And I don't like that.
I just
That's
have them
just
go
me.
super deep tissue, so the whole time I'm in pain.
Yeah,
and
but
that helps.
it's just too, to me, it's too
Maybe that's why I don't
sexual.
like touch.
Situation.
Yeah, so I just don't do them. Yeah, not me.
Oh, it's my favorite.
I
It's my
just do
best
yoga.
self-care.
I massage
Maybe
myself.
My
Yeah.
touch is once a month. Just shove your elbow into my spine.
That counts.
That does.
I was going to say something, but I decided not to.
Great.
Okay.
Those are the best moments.
Client and practitioner will communicate to find what is mutually comfortable throughout each cuddling session.
Hmm.
This is a strictly platonic service. Both agree to not pursue or encourage sexual arousal.
This sounds like the one time you agree to cuddle with a friend in high school and then you end up making out.
Well, okay, here's the thing. This wasn't
feel like it
what
has
I
to
was
be
going to
said.
say, but this is something that just popped in my mind.
Okay.
My entire life, outside of professional massages, a massage was used as that like precursor.
Mhm.
Like you're
Ew.
not really hooked up, but it's like oh, would you like a massage? You
I
know,
don't like
and it might be on the
No.
beach or it might be here or there. And then that's the lead up.
But they do, and maybe that's why it doesn't work for me. Because I'm like, you're doing a shitty job.
I know,
If you're
but it
not
doesn't
gonna
matter
do
if
it
you're
right.
wanting to hook up with somebody, you let it go because it's like an innocent enough lead up where it's like, okay, either person could back out of it at that point, but both people want it, but it's a way to lead into it without like
I don't
saying
think
it.
I don't think I've ever done that.
Oh my God, so many freaking times. Yeah,
Really?
it's the move.
I feel like that's creepy.
No, it's not.
Don't.
It's not. If there's somebody like you sort of have a little bit of a vibe, but
No,
you've
like-
never done anything with it,
No.
and then it's like, oh, you want a
No.
back rub, you know, a
Ew.
shoulder rub?
Don't touch
No.
me.
Oh my God, no.
Buy
It works.
me-
It's led.
Buy me food. Take me to a movie.
This
and
is
then
more
you'll get what you
teenage
want.
times. This is more teenage times. Like nobody's going out to dinner. Everybody's
No,
just doing
no, but then-
massages on the beach.
Then you just, I can't say more. My dad listens. Keep going.
So it's just there's so much connotation to me. That's why I just can't. I can't go there. So minimum clothing of a tank top and shorts that cover the top half of the thigh and are suitable to be worn in public for both client and practitioner at all times.
I would need, I want you to wear leggings. I don't want anything slipping out. Shorts.
Well, I
seem
mean,
ambiguous
you could
to
talk
me.
about that in your like
disclosure.
pre-talk. No hand to genital or breast contact. No intentional genital stimulation of any kind.
Right.
No exchanging of saliva or any other bodily fluid in any way.
Right.
Both agree to respectful personal hygiene. So there's a whole
No
section
stinkiness.
on there. Like, what do you do if you think your practitioner is not,
Stinky.
doesn't have good hygiene? What do you do if your
Ooh.
client doesn't have good hygiene?
I had a massage therapist that had a hangnail and it scratched me the entire massage and I didn't say a damn thing. And I went home and looked and I had scratches all over me because I didn't feel comfortable saying something.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Isn't that like a
Got to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
I once got scalp burns at a hair salon
Me too.
because I was
My
afraid to
scalp fell
speak
off.
up when the hair dryer was literally burning the shit out of my scalp.
I did that with hair dye. Yeah.
I didn't wanna
No,
make
I'm better now, but I used to suffer through anything.
Oh, I'm probably not better now.
I am way better now. I will say something. I'll be like, excuse me, that is
I
really
had that
hot.
happen with hair dye.
Excuse me, I feel blisters arising right now.
I had hair dye that like was
I know
like,
who gave that to you.
I know you do.
I
That
know
like
too.
oh my God.
We all know.
I know.
If
I
you
don't
know, you
the
know.
name, but I know.
We will not say the name or the place because we don't want to shame anybody.
All right, my scalp fell off for like 3 days. It was so bad.
It was, like, peeling.
Oh yeah, no, I had like
Yeah.
chunks of my scalp. It was like my whole scalp scabbed and then peeled, and it was a giant 3rd-degree burn across my scalp.
Thank you. Now
I did eventually say something, but it was way too late.
it's too late.
The next
Yeah.
time you have a massage therapist that has a hangnail, will you speak up?
I will after that because I was like, that was stupid. But it was someone I didn't normally see, so I didn't feel comfortable, and they acted super confident about it. So like there was some weird vibes that I just didn't like.
Yeah.
So
A 2020 research article that explored the use of therapeutic touch suggests that clinicians should consider the client's cultural background, personal touch history, and current state to ensure therapeutic touch will not cause harm. So it's a really cool, so this is recent, that's 2020.
I would say good job we love some current research. up in
Yes.
here. We, keep it in the last 3 to 5 years would be ideal.
So this article is titled Training Issues Related to Touch in Counseling Training. So this is in the Journal of Counselor Preparation and Supervision. So this is focused on training our new up-and-comers by Jonathan D. Wright. And he says, foundational skills for using touch in counseling can be incorporated into coursework. Counselors can be encouraged to include exploration of clients' touch histories in intakes and taught how to discuss touch with clients as it applies to both informed consent and therapeutic processing. So I love how they talk about incorporating cultural history, because we need to consider that, because as I mentioned earlier, some cultures are very touchy. And so if we're not touching, we're not practicing cultural competence in that case.
I touched Sarah's foot without her consent just now.
Sign a form.
And feet can be sexual for people.
Oh yeah,
not
foot fetish
in
is
this form.
huge. Foot fetishes are
Not for me.
huge. They're very popular. No, we haven't.
Future.
List. So we should also look at how touch was used by attachment figures in the client's life. So I love that. Like, was there perhaps sexual abuse where touch was an abuse of power over them, or was there, violence with physical abuse, or was touch, nurturing and loving, or maybe touch was withheld as a punishment? So exploring all those aspects before we decide to move forward with hugs or not hugs.
I know that my family on one side was very not in a bad way, but it was more of they all felt awkward hugging, that sort of thing. So my dad went out of his way to hug me more, even though the rest of the family didn't really do hugs as often. So I do very much remember that in my childhood of being huggy and super touchy was definitely not a norm in our family.
And, I was raised with all kinds of abuse. So I made a point to hug the shit out of my kids all the time, whether they liked it or not. I still force them into hugs all the time. I force them. Yeah. For many clients, touch may have been paired with experiences of powerlessness. So this is most pointedly seen in survivors of abuse, but has been likely experienced to some degree by many clients, particularly women and clients with less privilege. For these clients, providing an opportunity to take control over their own bodies and tactile experiences can be particularly empowering and transformative. And the reference on that little bit is our favorite Bessel van der Kolk.
Oh, we love him. It's gone. Sorry,
okay.
This can of wine is great.
So part of the concluding statement in this article is that the most important step in ensuring the appropriate use of touch in counseling is to lift the taboo and bring this back into conversation in clinical and training dialogue. So I love that. And we're doing that right now. We're talking about it.
So
it doesn't need to be a black or white issue.
Shine a light on it so it can be talked about.
It doesn't have to be no touch or too much touch.
Your topic about, that's what brought it in my mind, was the episode 69, where we talk about female sexuality, that one.
I was traumatized during that.
Right. But part of the point of
it's the only episode we edited, heavily edited.
And
yes.
And was my topic. I did the traumatizing, but one of the main points is that women, at least in the US, often have this it's for the man in a lot of ways for sexual interactions, and that is, we talk about the lack of talking about female orgasm and putting that at forefront, women who lie about having it and things like that. And I think that advocating for yourself in intimate situations where cuddling is intimate, doesn't have to be sexual, maybe part of that too, of not advocating for what you need intimately for touch.
Yes, have those awkward conversations.
You just don't want people to listen to episode 69. It's a great episode.
No, I don't.
Episode 69.
It made me very angry.
It was such a good episode, though.
I know, but personally, it made me very angry about just my situation in life and society, because I couldn't just be open and honest. I had to. And that made me angry.
Which was the point of the whole thing.
But I just can't, because nobody will accept that.
I accept that.
But read my book. That will be coming out never.
You
say
had
that.
no
Because
you
I
already
say
said-
everything in my book.
you already said that I get to read it.
No, you said that. I nodded, but it
You
was
said
in
"Will
a
you read my
non-committal
book?"
way.
And I said yes, that's committal.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll have to be a slumber party
Absolutely.
with lots of alcohol.
We can totally
Because
try-
I will be sobbing the
we
entire
can-
time.
We can totally try twerking upside down again in a handstand.
Perfect.
Great. I haven't done that in years. I'm sure it'll go well.
It'll go really well.
Or not.
I mean, it's much harder upside down, honestly. But
No, I think it's easier.
is it because you get a little more gravity, like the bum,
Yeah,
bum,
yeah,
bum,
yeah.
bum? I can
Bump
see
it, a
that.
bump it, a bump, bump,
Bum,
bump.
bum, bum.
So I was thinking, like, how could I personally bring in healthy touch
You're
into
gonna hug me.
therapeutic
Oh.
practice, like right now? Like, I don't know if I want to go full hug, but I was thinking like maybe some high fives, or with kids you could do patty cake games,
Yeah.
or like do like fun handshakes where you're like, yeah, this is our super sweet handshake.
You could do like cat's
Yeah.
cradle even with them if you've ever done like that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you know, Sarah and I teach Yoga Calm, and one thing I love about that program, it's a yoga social emotional learning program for kids, is they do make a point to incorporate healthy touch into it. So there's like partner poses.
Right. I've done a few of those with clients before. Like
Yeah.
meeting each other, and you see like the barrier at first, and then you see that come down, and it's so
Right. So it's
so
a
good.
it's a way to do that in a way that's like appropriate and with
Mhm.
supervision, and it's bringing it in so we can get that those human
It
connection
teaches kids what
chemicals
appropriate touch
going.
is.
Yes.
The tree forest. Oh, we
Tree
did that in Derby with
forest.
yoga and like doing the tree together, like to build teamwork.
Exactly. And
Teamness.
when I used to coach roller derby, I used to cite research to them that
Right.
touching builds trust. So touchy teams perform better. So when they'd come off the track,
True.
I used to make them high five each
Ah.
other.
You know,
Remember, I
what's
used to force them to
interesting
do that.
is like in Derby, I'm bare like I'll grab people, touch them, I'll like grab me, throw me. Like I'm totally okay with it in Derby, which is interesting
Yeah.
because
Mm.
you made it a safe place to do that.
Mhm.
I think.
And it was meaningful. Like there was a
Yeah.
purpose and a
There was
reason.
a purpose and people could see the immediate benefit. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
because
it
you come off the
works.
track, you get a high five, you're like, yes,
Give me my
I'm
kill sticker.
I'm part of something
I
bigger
laid her
than
out.
me.
There's a lot of healing going on, I bet, throughout that. Unaware, you know, feeling
after bouts, that's probably one of the best feelings I've ever had is like,
Best adrenaline rush ever.
right.
Well, that's my topic, professional cuddling.
Yay. Wait, can I say one more thing?
Yeah. jump in.
So I've heard of baby cuddlers that go, and I think you kind of mentioned that, where you go
Mm.
in, if infants maybe don't have the parents around, or
No, I
you
didn't
know,
mention
what.
that. I was just talking about the,
But there's you can volunteer to go and like cuddle babies if you don't
Yeah.
have like their parental figures
can I
around.
share
And I-
something?
Yeah, I really want to do that though someday. That's like
No, that would
my
be
goal.
amazing.
I would love
When Skylar was little, he got RSV really bad.
that.
He was hospitalized for a whole week.
Mhm.
And I was just like, I'm not going to leave his side. Like I wasn't
Mhm.
eating, I wasn't peeing, I wasn't anything.
Right.
And I remember like this sweet like volunteer came in and was like, you need to go get some food. I promise. Like, and Skylar's asleep at that moment. She's like, I am gonna sit in this rocking chair. If he wakes up, I promise he will not feel alone. And I was like,
You want to touch some babies?
I want to hold
and I honestly had to pee so bad. And I was
had-
like, okay, but I ran. I'm like,
I had lunch with my friend today who has a 6-week-old baby, and it was just so, and all wrapped up in like a little papoose here, and we went and had lunch, and it's just so cute. But you could see like crying in the car, you know, the disconnect, and then the instant up against mom, quiet the whole time. It was
oh
so
yeah. That's why I have this bed, because my
It's
kids
not
didn't sleep in
for the
cribs.
sex, believe it or not.
No, now it is, but
Oh.
I got a king size bed because
That's why
I
Sarah's
didn't put
sitting
my
on the
babies
very
in
edge.
cribs. I we did the family bed.
My dad
Yeah.
would do that too. Like I ended
Yeah.
up sleeping on the bed.
My kids slept. And then when Asher was going to be born, we had to like move Skylar out. And so we did it gradually. Like he had his little toddler mattress first next to the bed, and I would just inch him slowly out the door. An inch a night. You gotta go.
In the hall.
Sorry, yeah, it's in the hallway. down the hall. Little by little, and then he was in his own bed. But he was like freaking 5 at that time, so it's okay.
Are you
Just
ready?
there's not room for 4.
Are you ready for some?
I'm ready for some whatever you got.
Some. All right, so I'm going to talk about the Kamukai, and I may not say things right. The Kamukai house, which is
Okay.
in Japan.
Let's hear about it.
Wow, and I totally already messed it up. Hawaii. It's in Hawaii.
Oh,
You'll see.
totally different.
There's totally different. There's a legitimate reason I messed that up, but that's okay. Okay, so Hawaii, what do you think of?
I need to go there one day because I have relatives. Because my dad was born in Honolulu.
Oh, I've been to Kona twice and I love it. It just makes me feel peaceful just thinking of it.
I
Beaches,
might have people there that
peaceful.
actually look like me, which
That's exciting.
other than my kids, like I've
Yeah.
never like experienced that really.
All right, so get ready to throw out all those happy things. So gone.
I'm holding on to it.
Okay, just for a little bit. Okay, so there are countless though stories of ghosts and demons, especially in Honolulu, Hawaii. At
Oh my God, that's what I just said.
At the Kamuki house in Honolulu. So many families have moved into this house and out of this house, and I'm going to share a little bit about some of the stories that have come from this house.
Okay.
All right, so we'll talk a little bit about this creature that's said to be in this house. Recently, I think in the past like 5-ish years, it's been demolished and there's condos now there, which I'm curious about the impact of that too.
Oh, if they're haunted.
Right. So, okay. So incident number 1.
Okay.
In the summer of 1942, authorities were called to the Kamaki property because a woman claimed that an unseen entity was attacking her children. When police arrived at the house, they were confronted by a hysterical woman, I hate that word, screaming that a ghost was trying to kill her children.
We don't say hysterical.
No, I'm reading something. We
say reasonably upset.
So she yelled, "She's trying to kill
normal
my
reaction.
children." And they entered the house. The police actually stumbled on a scene that they say they'll never forget. 3 children are being thrown around the room
What?
by an invisible force. The officers watched for over an hour,
Like just
unable to do anything.
okay. I'm like, are they just eating chips?
No,
Like
they were
what?
trying. So the children were being beaten and strangled
Holy
by
shit.
this unseen entity.
When was this?
This was 1942 for the first event. This event, which is actually published in a newspaper, I have an article from the actual newspaper that it was printed in, inspired a future like fictional version where it's much more violent, but I'm going to read you the news article from that actual time. It was labeled "Police Called to Shoo Ghosts from Kumukai." So Kahuna
Shoe ghosts.
Hawaii's own witchcraft brewed evils again Wednesday night, dispelling old timers' hopes that the war had stilled it. So this is after Pearl Harbor had happened, and so there's all that happening. Answering a Kumukai near riot call, Police Sergeant blank and Patrol blank found a Hawaiian boy 10 and his 2 sisters 18 and 20 years old shrieking on a sofa. The mother, besides shrieking, was waving tea leaves and sprinkling Hawaii salt to ward off ghosts. She said her son had detected an odor of ghosts. Angry at being found out, the spirits attacked him first, then began repeated attempts to strangle his sisters. "My husband who left me is to blame," the mother said. After 1.5 hours struggle, police and family yielded the home to Kahuna and retreated to the mother's sister's home. And they left, and sleepless neighbors gave thanks. The mother turned to the sergeant and said, "Look, you have goosebumps too." Okay, so that was what was published. Okay, so if you've been a bad person in your life, anybody? If you've been a bad person, your troubles aren't over when you're dead. During your funeral processions, as the priests and mourners carry your coffin away, there's a sudden crack of thunder and lightning as a demon tries to steal your body and drag it away to hell. Or maybe you just died at your home and your once beloved house pet thinks your sin-ridden body would make a delicious snack. All right. So we're going to talk about Kasha, and we'll go into a little bit more detail here in a minute. But
Kesha?
Yes, not Kesha.
Oh.
Kasha is what I'm going to pronounce it as to create a difference. It's one of the most confused of Japan's yokai. That's why I said Japan earlier. So it's an actual yokai, which is a Japanese demon. Over the centuries, Kasha have evolved from a fiery cart pulled by devils to an aged cat that changes form into a corpse-eating monster.
I love cats.
Even calling them yokai is like misleading.
Do not let me forget about that cat barf on my floor.
I had forgot about it.
Well, I know, I don't want to forget, and then it's going to get hard and become part of the floor. Don't
Sarah.
forget about the cat barf. Write a note, Sarah.
Okay. So yokai is kind of a catch-all term for Japan's monsters, but it's actually more of a demon, which is more like an onai. So historically it's been used to steer people towards the righteous path of Buddha, by having these stories of monsters and demons. But it is kind of interesting that it's present in Hawaii in such a strong way in lore. So incident number 2.
Okay.
3 women moved into the same Kamuki home. One night, an invisible force grabbed the arm of one of the women, which frightened the ladies and resulted. So there's multiple women there, 3, and police got called. After explaining the incident, the women asked if they could follow them as they drove to their mother's house. Like, we don't feel safe here, we're going to leave. So they start following them. However, all of a sudden, one of the woman driving pulls off into a parking lot. The policeman got out to see what was going on, and the woman in the driver's seat was wrestling like she was being strangled in the car. Unseen force. She looked like she was being choked. The policeman attempted to help her. He was forced back and restrained by what he described as a large calloused hand.
Oh.
Ew, why does it have to be calloused?
The police
That just makes it so much worse.
But that's how he described it.
Ah, all those roughnecks.
Yeah.
Roughnecks.
Rednecks.
No, roughnecks is also a term.
I
Okay.
think they work on oil rigs.
Like, you roughnecks.
Oh.
I think they're people that work on oil rigs.
They have roughnecks.
They're called, that's like the term for them.
Oh,
You
look
did
it up,
point,
Sarah.
you did point, so it sounds degrading. Okay, so they're in the parking lot. He gets grabbed by this large calloused hand. The policeman managed to get the lady being choked out of the vehicle into his car, but then all of a sudden the police car wouldn't start. So they tried to go back to the other car together, and it had turned on like there was no problem. They drove out of the parking lot, but things only got worse. The policeman saw the car door open as they were driving, like it was ripped open, and that same girl was thrown out of the car. The woman and policeman were unable to do anything as the Kasha choked its victim to death. She died.
Whoa.
Jesus.
This-
Because Sarah has a roughneck update.
Well,
No, jump in. Go
off
ahead,
track.
because the
They are-
next thing I have a news article. So
Yeah.
I'll go.
I mean, it's off topic, but yeah, they work on oil rigs, roughneck.
Roughnecks.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Term used for
I didn't know that was like
This is great. It gives
The
me a break to
connection.
drink my wine.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
like it.
Okay, continue.
roughnecks.
This is part of the reason I really liked diving into
I
this.
don't
Is
want a
that
roughneck.
me neither.
Watch your face.
moisturizing.
I apply a serum and a sunscreen
Is that there was
daily.
news articles that went along with each of these incidents, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
So this one, I'm not going to read it all because it's very similar to what I just read, but an actual news article that just retold.
So it's like factual. It's not like something that
Right.
only would be in the Inquirer.
Right. I think the, the attaching the lore, the story to it is definitely probably the stretch, but that's not what's listed in the news. It's very, matter of fact of what the policeman said, but the policeman said there's a ghost in that car, like that's how they described it.
It was like culturally acceptable to say that.
And at this point, the house has been very viewed as like, if you live there, people may even say like, who you live there, like that's.
Do you have a picture of the
already
house?
worried. I do. I'll show it to you in
Ooh.
a second. Yeah. So incident number 3.
Okay.
This is 1977 now. Another young couple moved into the Kamuki house, oblivious to the history. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary until they returned from having a Hawaiian Mother's Day dinner, which is traditional there. They said at midnight, the bedroom became increasingly chilly. There's no wind through the house, though. They woke up and the wife saw a white figure of a large woman standing at the foot of their bed. However, there was nothing visible below her waist, and she didn't have any arms.
So it's just a torso.
Right. And a face, yeah. Once the wife got up to use the bathroom, the figure disappeared. So
I don't want to see any figures in my
hell
bedroom
no.
ever.
Like if I saw that when I woke, worst of my experience is a spider on my face. Like, ugh. Possible explanation maybe. So here's what people think may have been the thing. So one is a twist on the first story that was told, that was in the newspaper about the children.
Okay.
Some people, because it was like in the 1940s, believe that actually what happened was that the children were brutally killed, and that the father murdered his 2 kids along with the wife, and he buried his son and wife in the backyard, but the daughter's body was never found.
Oh,
so there's like an alternative
that's terrible
thing that's floating around, but that's not what's in the news article. But I'm not sure why that would be different or not, but that's one of the alternatives listed. Another one is that there's a second story of a lesbian couple who lived together, and one of them became involved with a man who discovered that she had actually had a wife, and the man killed her, the other woman, and himself, all inside the Kamuki house.
Asshole.
Right. So there's like some, and it's like, that's very specific to me, like these. So I'm like, where did these come from? But so there's definitely a thought that murders have happened in the home.
This is a single family home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Why would you live there?
Well, and some of these people didn't
there.
know, but apparently like on Honolulu, it's very expensive. And so for a long time, the Kamuki house was pretty cheap to get.
Well, yeah, because you're going to die.
If people didn't believe in it, and they're like, oh,
it's fine.
Yeah.
Right. And actually, I read an article by a woman who more present day who lived there before the condos got put in. And she said that like she never had any like, she was a writer. So she's like, I never had any like huge things happen. She's like, but I had like a really good temperature setting in the house. And at several times it would all of a sudden just drop drastically and the temperature would change. And she would feel like she's like that feeling where you're being watched.
Temperature drops are known to be associated.
Yes. So
with the other world.
Right. And so she very much felt and she ended up moving, I think, to California, but she's like, I want to be honest, I didn't have any like big events happen here, but I didn't feel comfortable living there. This is the house. I'll show you the picture here.
Oh, it's big.
They said it's not like, anything amazing, but this is the home.
No, it's a big house.
And that specific woman had said that she had people who'd walk by, she'd be doing laundry outside and they'd be like, you live there?
Go back
You're fine. I don't mind as long as you don't get me.
I wash the sheets. You don't have to be afraid.
Well, Yeah, I'm like, I feel like audience role.
So I wanted to learn a bit more about the Kasha.
Well, I also want to know, when was that house built?
I don't know.
Like,
when
what
the
came
house-
before? What was that plot of land used
I mean, it
for
was pre
before? You know what I mean?
1940. Oh, I saw something about burial grave.
See, that's what I'm
Ancient
getting
burial
at.
grave.
Is this a poltergeist situation?
I did read something about that when I was reading about them kind of laying it out for the condos. And
Never
people,
build a house on a burial
I know,
ground
and people
and then never
say
live on it.
that odd happenings happen for the residents who live there now, potentially because of that. So let's talk about the Kasha. I'll show you a quick picture of their little drawing of the
Oh,
Kasha
look
demon.
at those abs.
Okay, just to give you a
That is a
picture.
6-pack.
Okay.
And then some.
Right. So Kasha are a type of Bakeneko, which Nico in Japanese means cat, right? So, but the Baki means monster cat. So monster cat. They are large bipedal felines.
Bakeneko.
Mhm,
That should be our podcast title.
Bakeneko.
Write it down, Sarah.
Bakeneko. They're large bipedal felines, as large or larger than humans. They're often accompanied by hellish flames or lightning, often appearing during rain or storms. So remember when I mentioned like the lightning, like that moment? Typically, like historically, they're viewed as coming in with a fiery cart to wheel away the dead. Okay, so they often live among humans, disguised as ordinary house cats or strays.
I have 3 cats living in my home.
I have 5 cats.
How
living
many
in my
of them
home.
are
2
Bakenekos?
are strays.
Well, we know Kiwi.
That's a different stray.
I'm getting that straight.
Kiwi
your
was
Bakeneko.
I need to get my box.
adopted under questionable circumstances. So
Okay. So that's their disguise. However, they reveal their true forms during funeral services when they leap down from rooftops to snatch corpses out of their coffins.
no.
Kasha are occasionally employed as messengers or servants of hell, in which case they are tasked with collecting corpses of wicked humans and spiriting them off to hell for punishment. Other times, they steal corpses for their own uses, either to animate them as puppets or to eat them.
I've heard of that, cats eating their own humans.
Which it was so interesting because they talk about like the consumption of eating the human, and as like cats doing, like I was even thinking of like Catwoman, that the stupid version, where they all start like eating her, and it is such a like dark image, and you're like, where does that come
What's
from?
the stupid version?
I don't know. I can't think of the name.
Hopefully it's not
Stupid.
the Michelle Pfeiffer version, because I love her as Catwoman.
She's good as Catwoman too. I just don't like the movie. Okay, so don't judge me. Okay. So it's nearly impossible to retrieve a person's remains after they've been snatched by a Kasha. So it's like done at that point, which makes it really hard for that person to move on to the afterlife.
Okay.
So the best defense is to be prepared. There's unique ways that people have actually formed to they view this as a very real possibility, or some do, historically, to prevent the soul from being
So
stolen.
what do? You
want to know?
Yes.
We've talked about this
we
in
need
other
to know.
topics. Like
I need
how do you
preventative
protect-
measures.
How to protect yourself. That should be our
That's
new name of
what
the
I
podcast,
want.
How to protect your soul.
How to
In
protect your soul.
I have lots
If
of
you-
great options tonight.
If you have one.
if you have
Oh,
one,
okay.
if you have a soul yet, or at all. Okay, so in temples in areas where Kasha are said to prowl, so if there's like in this area, for example, where they have a Kasha house, here's some of the ways that clever priests have taken.
Okay.
One is to hold 2 funerals. The first funeral,
Ooh, trickery.
they fill the coffin with rocks.
Smoke and mirrors.
Right.
Subterfuge.
So then the Kasha go after that one.
Distraction.
And it's just like, it's the whole ceremony's fake, basically. And then the second one's the real one, but
I
it
love
just
that.
reduces the risk. It doesn't mean it won't happen, but it reduces the risk that the Kasha finds.
I'm gonna
the
put that
second
on my
one
will. Hold fake funeral.
first,
Just
and
in-
then second.
Just in case.
I mean, why not? Okay, but here's another idea, which I thought was interesting too. So in Ahime, a head shaving razor is placed on top of the coffin that apparently will keep the Kasha out. So you could do that too.
Why are we shaving heads?
I don't know. It just works.
What is a head shaving razor?
I'm more of a double funeral.
No, I want to go
I'm on
double
board with
funeral
that. I wanna
because
go
that
down.
feeds my narcissistic
right.
traits where I'm
course
like,
of course
two
you want it.
funerals,
All the funerals.
all the funerals.
Yes. And
Double the food, double the flowers. Being a Jew, double the rocks.
in Miyazaki,
If you know, you know.
priests will chant, and I'm going to say this wrong, Baku ni wa kuasen and Kashi ni wa
You're doing the chant
kuasen.
and it's coming for us.
Oh my God. Oh my God. He's coming in.
I don't mind slamming the cat in the door, or cat in the door's face. Okay. Sorry, cat. I don't feel bad. So they repeat that twice in front of the funeral procession.
Shouldn't
to keep
eat
the
me in
evil
my
spirits
sleep
away.
tonight because of you.
You need to repeat this. It means don't be eaten by Akasha.
Okay, how do you say it?
Kasha niwa kuasen.
Kashiniwa Kuasen. I'm sure we're
You have to
pronouncing
repeat it
that
twice.
terribly.
I'm actually probably not too
Kashiniwa
off. I've been,
Kuasen.
I'm on month 2 of Duolingo in Japanese, but
Ooh, that's fun.
yeah, no, it's
Okay.
probably way off. But
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like I need to say it too.
We
One more.
apologize to everybody.
the hard part of this is that it's spelled out not in Japanese. If it was actually spelled in Japanese,
Oh, I don't like the phonetic stuff. It makes it hard.
Yeah, because I'm kind of guessing how they put it in English, which is harder. Okay, so in Okayama, the priests play a type of cymbal used in religious ceremonies as well to keep the kashi away. So different regions have different ways of dispelling them. Okay, so the origins, I think, are pretty interesting. So kashi were once ordinary house cats. Like other animals, as they age in years, their tails grow longer. Cats begin to develop magical powers.
Wait, what?
So this is their whole thing is as cats get older,
Their tails grow longer?
as they get older, their tails naturally grow longer.
Is that true?
And
People's noses get bigger and ears.
And ears.
right.
That's why old
right.
people have big nose and ears.
So
I'm looking forward to it.
So basically the way it started is old cats turn into kasha.
But do their
Okay.
tails really grow longer?
Yes.
I've never
Well, if you
measured.
think of a kitten, it grows longer.
Well, yeah, but the whole
100%.
thing does.
No, but their tail
By thing, I mean cat.
I mean, I get that too, but like their tail grows on its own as well. Because it's not like a
Does
little
it
tail
though?
on the body of a cat.
Develop, like, once-
Yeah, like does it keep growing? Now I feel like I want to stretch
think-
my cat's tail out of her ruler and measure it, and then measure it again next year.
Just put it like on the wall, like a growth chart.
Yeah, like out here, like it's my kid's growth charts right out here on the wall. We'll
So-
just stretch the cat's tail up on the wall and make a mark.
So basically,
Obi,
as the
4
tail
years
gets
old.
longer, I didn't take it as like once they're adults.
That's
Gets
how
longer.
I'm taking it.
I mean, maybe that's true. I took it as like as cats grow older, like into adulthood, as their tail gets longer, they grow magical powers. And then once cats become old,
So
they
literal,
then can
Macy.
become kasha, right? I know. It's part of what makes me boring. Some turn into the Bakeneko, which is the more powerful, the Bakeneko or the kasha. Some turn into Nikomata, which is even more powerful. Fear of such demonic cats is long. It's in Japan for a very long time. So this I liked. Folk wisdom in Japan said, don't let cats near dead bodies. Which makes sense. It makes sense. I wouldn't.
I'm just struggling with when that would
But
come
this
up
is
for
why.
me personally.
But it gives you the why. Like, don't let them near dead bodies because they will eat and consume their dead bodies and take their soul.
So funeral parlors should not have like a pet cat on site.
Probably not. No, I would be like, I can't work with you.
A cute little cat
My
named
dead
Muffin
body
that
can't
just
work
lives there.
Okay, here's another one. And if a cat jumps over the coffin, the corpse inside the coffin will rise.
No, I'm not into that.
Right.
I mean, if I worked there, that would freak me out.
And
They just like.
Yeah.
so this actually led to superstition. And if we think about how like different breeds and things over time led to traditions such as cutting cats' tails short.
No, that's so
to
mean.
prevent it from learning magic. Right.
What?
Right.
That's why people do that? I thought it was
mean,
just because they're
probably not-
bullies.
Probably
and-
not modern
animal
days, but that's
haters.
how things like that start. And it becomes a like, oh, I like the way that looks. But it came from a fear and superstition of cats having magical powers and stealing souls. So they try to curb that.
I have 3 cats that live in this house, and I don't trust any of them, to be honest.
5, I'm way outnumbered.
I just don't really always know like what their motivation is.
I had to get my cat off the roof and he was like, let me off. I'm like, you got up there. Like, and now I have to stand on a scary stool. I'm gonna die by doing this.
And sometimes
That
like
was
they're
their
clearly
plan.
looking
So they
at
can eat my dead
something.
body.
They're luring you.
They were
What?
learning me.
Luring.
Oh, learning me.
We should do a Podbean patron only thing where we try to pet Kiwi later.
Oh no, it's Kiwis. I liked Kiwi at first. And I'm like, oh, she's being nice to me, and then all of a sudden bit me out of
I have the 3
nowhere.
pet rule.
Mm-mm.
1, 2, 3, stop.
Uh-huh.
But
Can they go the opposite way?
No, it doesn't even matter. Like
it doesn't matter.
Kiwi acts super loving.
She's gorgeous. She
is
feels like she's
Akasha.
made of velvet.
Kiwi is Akasha, 100%.
And she will come up to you
She
and
would
be
eat
like,
my eyeballs.
love me.
No
I'm so
problem.
beautiful. And then you pet her and she bites the shit out of you. She's drawn blood on me so many times.
Yeah, it's not even just like I have a cat that like does it playfully. Darkness does it playfully, but it's like she bites you and you're like, you little shit. Like, fuck you. We're not friends anymore.
We're gonna do it.
I want that to be my next cat's name.
Darkness.
Kasha.
Oh, Kasha. That's a good, yeah.
That's a
yeah.
really good name.
Kasha. Just make sure you're pronouncing it right.
Yeah, I'll have to.
Go look it up.
All right. Please
you.
consider being our patron on Patreon. It's the best way to support our podcast, and we'll pay for our wine fund because this shit's like $5 a can.
This
And
is
now
a
we
good
have
one.
fucking Sarah on board.
No, I'll
So
bring some next time.
She
No,
drove
no,
this time.
no.
We're doing a ride swap. So
No,
like
no,
I drive
no.
one time, she drives the other.
our patrons
I don't rotate ever.
who love us will support that. Yes. Not you, Victor Martinez. You're doing your part. You're good.
Aw.
Your
But
pal.
other people that aren't our patrons
who
and aren't
listen
as
to
generous.
us a lot, because we know there's a lot of you that listen. We'd really appreciate the
Yes.
help. It takes time. It takes friendship. It takes some touching appropriate. It wasn't consensual. I know it's just awkward from an awkward person. I can't help that.
If you didn't listen to our last episode, we talked about
I don't remember.
oh my god, Nancy. You talked about 2
Plane
local
crashes.
plane crashes on
Right on Mount
Spokane.
Spokane. Make sure you have the right map.
And I talked about mediums, focusing on Tyler Henry, Hollywood medium.
Mm-hmm.
And Macy luckily has 2% of an open mind. So I mean it's better than being 100% closed.
Oh yeah. No, I like being scared. I like being open to the experience. Prove me
2%,
wrong. I'm
that's-
totally open to it.
Totally open. Until next time,
Until next time.
consider doing patty cake with your friend. It'll give you some oxytocin.
Mhm,
Do you
mhm.
know a patty cake song? Do you know this?
Oh,
song?
I'm really good at dun, dun, dun.
Okay, well, you're not even doing it. Hold on.
You're not
Shimmy,
doing
Cocoa
it.
Pop, shimmy, shimmy,
Go
rock,
faster.
shimmy, shimmy, Cocoa Pop,
Faster,
shimmy, shimmy,
faster.
rock. I met a boyfriend. Trisket.
Until next time. Be awesome. Like us.
You're so awesome.
Do you ever do this one? Wait. Okay. I don't know if I can do this. Okay, hold on. Double this, double that, double this, double that, double this, that.
Look at that one, good. Bravo.
Bye. Bye.